What's up everybody, and we are back with another epic video. This video was sent to me by somebody on Instagram. They told me to react to it. The video is titled Rich versus Poor, Is the Economy Rigged? Anything that's related to business, econ, money, you know I'm there. I'm super interested in this kind of stuff. So without further ado, let's just jump straight into the video.
Step forward if you agree. Being poor is a choice.
It's a tough question, but not very multivariable.
I do not want to be disingenuous to ignore systemic issues that we all experience, but I feel like it's 2021 and there's a lot of free resources. I mean, Facebook has a lot of free courses. I think that poor is also a mindset.
I agree. Originally, when I came out here, I started straight at the homeless shelter. I had to flee from domestic violence from my family. Most people in general don't choose to be poor, but since I've been here, specifically in LA, a lot of people outside, they don't want to come into the shelter because they'd rather be in the tents.
I mean, I grew up poor, so I have been on both sides of the coin, and I can reflect and look back on some of the lifestyle choices that I was making, some of the people that I was hanging around. So I don't think that people can initially control if they're born into poverty, but I think that there is a certain level of control that comes along with being able to have that determination and that resilience.
Can I have the
By the way, it's pretty interesting how they kind of classify the people in this discussion, rich versus poor. What exactly constitutes rich and what exactly constitutes poor? I'm not really sure what how they define both words, but let's just keep going.
disagree or step forward?
We need to realize that these people are on the street not because of their own choosing, but because of the system that we live in perpetuates these things.
If I could speak to that, I come from a family that once relied on welfare and food stamps, and I have been blessed enough to make millions of dollars in real estate. But had I bought real estate from 2005 to 2008, I'd probably be bankrupt today. I just bought it at the right time.
People wish to be rich, they don't want to be rich. The difference is, do you take action? That being said, I agree with a lot of your points you're making about people not really having the resources or the opportunity to have any kind of action plan.
Some people don't even want to be rich, also don't want to be poor. I'm happy in the middle. And I would want to live in a society where they could perpetuate people to lift themselves out of poverty through programs and just be in the middle.
Billionaires should not exist.
If you want to lift yourself out of poverty, what you want to do is allow as much freedom as possible and basically take down all the barriers to rising up. I mean, it's not by accident or a surprise that places that are very, very socialistic with a lot of programs have minimal social mobility in the population. They're all equally poor together.
I don't see how anyone could ever spend $1 billion. It's not a necessity to have that much money, and I feel like there is a certain cap in which, you can completely survive and thrive with this amount of money, and then if you surpass that, you're just hoarding.
And then we've seen
Point number one, billionaires, most of them have their money literally tied to stocks and options. So their money is literally tied to the company assets in form of equity. So it's not like they have billions of dollars in cash reserves that they're ready to that they're just hoarding, like he's saying. And again, getting back to the cap, who decides what the cap is? Should we cap it at 100 million, 1 billion? How do you even come up with that number? And more importantly, a billionaire, what exactly did he do? He literally created a product or service, and he voluntarily traded with people that believed that his product or service was worth more than the money that they have. If I trade $1,000 for an iPhone, it means that the iPhone is worth more than $1,000, so it benefits my life. Or else, if it was worth less, I would not buy the iPhone. Obviously they don't want to talk about that.
what people with billions of dollars are doing with their money. They're going to space for fun. Clearly, if we tax those people properly, get their wealth and distribute it to people who need it, that'd be a much better use than going to space for fun.
the arrogance of these leftists is insane. But more importantly, going to space. It's so funny how these guys are so authoritarian too. The people that are going to space, first of all, they're funding the projects, doing all this R&D and investments into something that is for the future, for the vision and future of humanity. We always have these types of totalitarians that come in and try to basically undercut, stagnate, shut down everything that is looking towards the future, and always the same argument of we should put money into food and whatever. There's a reason why we don't nationalize food, but this guy doesn't care.
Personally, I don't think there's an issue with billionaires existing. The issue for me is that they need to be held accountable the same way poor people do. And I'm talking about the justice system.
When you look at a lot of billionaires who have gotten that way because of the just incredible amount of value they've given to society, I won't even talk about a huge, crazy billionaire. I'll talk about Jay-Z, who's a billionaire. He made amazing music. That's how he became a billionaire. And so I don't think it's the government's job to interject and say, okay, you have too much, we need to give it away. I mean, it would also never happen in any other arena. No one's gonna go, hey, Simone Biles, you have too many gold medals. We're gonna take them from you and we're gonna give them to the other people who weren't as talented as you.
I completely agree.
I completely disagree. I feel like that is the government's job. And Jay-Z, like you said, Jay-Z made his money from music. That's his labor. He's a musician. He's selling his talent. But then when he invested in the alcohol, then he's using other people who are harvesting the wheat, the agave. They're breaking their back. They're using their labor.
So do you think that you shouldn't invest in those people? Should they just like say, the hell with your dreams, I'm not going to invest in you?
I'm saying,
What about the job?
what do you mean?
They're having jobs.
Yeah, but how much are they getting paid for the jobs? Or those jobs in the third world where they're getting paid pennies,
Yeah,
and then
versus
Jay-Z
no
makes
job.
millions off their labor.
How much do you pay your employees?
You think harvesting
than
isn't
enough?
going to exist if Jay-Z doesn't invest?
If I may interject, I pay my employees like incredibly well and I let them choose their own hours. Someone who works for me is a single mother. I pay her $50 an hour. And I think that people that are providing jobs and opportunities, you can hate on them all you want, but at the end of the day, like nobody would work that job if it wasn't in some way, shape, or form worth it.
People who make $1 billion get a fraction of the value they create. Everybody here who has a business understands that. Even Jay-Z only gets 15 cents a record he sells. Okay?
Yes, that's because he got exploited by the record label who's using his labor to make money. It's the same
you
thing
keep using this word
when he
exploiting like
invests.
you understand the record business, of which I'm in, okay? Record labels back hundreds of artists. Do you know how many go busto? Yeah. Okay? They're taking risk in an artist by the tapes, paying the engineers, marketing, et cetera. They're exploiting them. They're taking on a bet. And they can't just give everybody 50-50. They'll go bankrupt. You don't understand the record business and you're just yelling out these words exploiting like you know what you're talking about, but you don't.
That's why
they're not exploiting.
That's why there's one Jay-Z and not millions
Exactly.
of them.
I actually want to ask a question of how you define exploited and why you're saying that.
I'm using exploited in the Marxian term where your labor creates value and then your employer takes that value and distributes it unevenly to themselves and then leaves the rest for the workers. That's exploitation. My name is David. I work for Disney.
By the way, one thing you have to notice, you have to recognize too, is that a lot of people that are, let's say, like Marxists, they don't see when they talk about econ, they almost never talk about service, and they always refer to actual physical work, like the physical work. They don't refer to value. They don't refer to knowledge. They don't refer to, like all the knowledge that is required, R&D, things of that nature, that are basically not physical. They kind of just discount all of them.
In the entertainment character department, and I make around $33,000 a year.
How's your experience been working at Disneyland?
My experience working at Disneyland is very mixed. The workers themselves, like my coworkers, are amazing people. Unfortunately, the company is not so great. They don't pay us that much. They have enough money to pay us more. I think they should just pay us more. But I don't think they're going to do that. That's why I'm advocating for a union to bargain in our favor.
My name is Ginny, and I run a software design agency.
The problem too with unions is that the companies literally leave, and the talent. We live in a globalized economic environment, so there's a lot of stuff that's going to happen. People are going to move. Companies are going to move. There's a lot of movement that's happening. And even the unions of the 1900s, they understood this. So what they were advocating for was not just unions in a company or country. They wanted to have globalized unions. However, the problem with globalized unions is that they found out that that peoples of the different countries, their nationality, their identity, their religion, their whatever it may be, superseded the global cause of the union. And so it always broke down.
And this year I'm going to be taking home about $400,000. When I started my business, that was like all consuming for me. Everything I did in my life was for business. And so I think my partner felt a lot of neglect. And so a lot of our arguments, a lot of the times that we had issues were because of my absence.
The economy is rigged.
I would actually...
These statements are tough because I don't know what they mean.
If you're born in a rich family, you have more opportunities. And as someone who is poor, living paycheck to paycheck, you're stuck having to apply to jobs and settle for things that you don't like instead of being able to follow your passions.
I agree and disagree. I agree that it's rigged to incentivize certain areas and behaviors, like we have millions and millions of farm subsidies. So it supports agribusiness. It may support one area like real estate or capital investment over labor. But I don't think it's generally rigged to basically keep the rich guy rich and the poor guy poor. That part I'll disagree. But there are certain policies like the reinvestment in productive people's hands for building real estate. I would say that's a good thing. Right?
When you say productive people, like, do you just mean people with money?
No, I mean people that actually take that money, organize people, put it to work, and create value. That's what I mean by productive people.
But who creates the value? It's the workers who create the value.
Listen, there's people who take risk and they risk their money. That's creating value. What you discount is the person willing to risk their savings, okay, and provide capital for that venture and to be paid last. So if it goes busto, the worker still gets paid. The investor doesn't. If it goes well, the worker gets paid and the investor makes money.
Okay, that's a super important point that this guy's bringing up. It's like, you literally sign a contract. I'm gonna get paid every 2 weeks. Okay, guaranteed paid every 2-3 weeks, even 1 week. On the flip side, let's say I start a restaurant, or open a restaurant, or start a retail store. I literally take $500K or $1 million. I put it into the restaurant. I'm taking a huge upfront, massive risk, and I might not make any money in the first year, second year, third year. I might not make any money ever, and I might go bankrupt. All the while, I have money that's in the building. I have money that are paying employees, the workers that this guy's referring to, that are taking much less risk, getting paid every 2 weeks. I'm doing I have all kinds of operational costs to worry about. I have R&D to worry about. I have marketing to worry about. I have keeping tabs on what's going on in the market, and so. That right there is a massive risk, a massive undertaking that I'm going for. This guy obviously doesn't really care about that or has never even thought of it.
You discount the role of capital and savings in any type of venture. Like my mom didn't want to be rich. She wanted to be a school teacher and work and do that and live in the middle ground, and that's fine. But there are people like me who want to take a lot of risk and get a lot of reward. And we put that capital to work. And you should respect that. Hi, my name is Bill Perkins. I run a hedge fund. I do investments and other things. I manage my own money. How much I make annually? Sometimes I lose money, but I'd say on average over $10 million a year. I took care of my dad in the last years of his life. He died broke. I did not inherit my money. I made it myself. I really don't care about the money. Money is a tool for me to have the experiences that I want to have out of life. And there are many experiences that I want to have.
You have to have a certain level of awareness and knowledge to know the rules of the game. And I think that there are barriers put in place to kind of prevent people from knowing the rules, but I think that it's out there and you can have access to it, and it's, I think that knowing the rules is different.
I know the rules, and I think they're disgusting. That's why I want to change them.
Why don't you play the game then? I mean, you can
I think they're disgusting. Why would I want to play the game?
As a real estate guy, I can make millions of dollars and use the exact same tax loopholes that a Donald Trump would use and pay effectively no tax. And does that make me a bad guy, or did I just study the tax code?
It makes you a bad guy, yeah.
You think so?
If you do that, yeah.
I'm following the law to a T.
The law is wrong. Yeah.
Why is it wrong? It's the
But
law.
I'm not.
You think just because it's law, it's always right?
No, certainly.
No, obviously not. But also for the tax thing, this is a thing that a lot of statists will never address. Is that all that's a lot of stuff that like tax loopholes and stuff like that is because of quick international like. You can do stuff like you could be like established in another country and then do all kinds of like transfer pricing, whatever it may be. But they never address the capital flight. They never address that these companies, these individuals that are productive can move. And so they're always left hanging and complaining. And I'm like, bro, you know what's going to happen once you instill and legislate and put forward your policy to take from all these people. And so what you should be doing is literally like thinking about that carefully, because as soon as you do that, the market moves and they're going to move outward and you're going to be left in the dust.
Certainly.
No, I'm not saying
But
that.
that's my point.
I'm not
No, the
saying
law is
that,
written
but
to encourage investment, is which they want. So he's investing. So like the law is written to encourage certain things. If you disagree with it, you can go lobby and change. But he's not a bad guy.
I know you mentioned that there are barriers in place that do keep people kind of in impoverished conditions, but I don't think that we all acknowledge like the mental.
Well, that's where I was going. So if I can reflect on myself, I mean, I remember when I was living in poverty, I was just trying to survive. So I didn't even have the brain capacity to try to, or the willpower to kind of even desire to access the rules of the economy. But I mean, I had an epiphany, and I literally woke up one day and I was like, I cannot live the rest of my life like this, and I don't care if people call me lame, square, they're gonna question my blackness. I mean, I don't care. I'm getting out.
Well, speaking about blackness, do you think there's a correlation between people from the African diaspora and people of color and poverty? You don't think there's like a relationship there?
It's true that, I belong to a community that makes less than certain other communities. That's true. Significantly less. But you can't look at differences between groups and say it's only because of systems. Systems played a huge deal to it. I'm not discounting that at all. Like, it's a real big deal and we're working to change that. But also, I mean, statistically, like, people from my old neighborhood and people, around in these communities, they spend about 50% more on shoes than people who are not in those neighborhoods. And it's like, man, that...
Well, not only that, Todd, but I think I looked up a recent statistic that said that Asian households, their children tend to study 13 to 15 hours a week, where in a black household, it's like 3 hours a week.
I know you said it's not like a race issue, but when you think about the way that we got here as like African people, it was a race issue. We didn't have a chance to discover America like the other people did. So I feel like how you had mentioned that Asian Americans, they study more than black households. You don't feel like those communities are kind of socialized in their upbringing to be more inclined to care about their finances, as opposed to like African Americans, we would rather look rich than actually be rich. I think that's a part of like our community.
It's a culture, it's a choice.
Well, it's
not a choice.
I don't
To a certain extent.
I think it's a choice.
2021. We're not.
Also, it's pretty tough because here's the thing. It's like not every Black American is the same. Not every Asian American is the same. Not every white American is the same. So you can make generalized claims of like culture, but then you have to attribute what is the weight with that variable and what is the percentage that affects the individual. Like, you can't just say, oh yeah, it's you just make general claims and say, oh yeah, this is conclusive that because of my race, 100% boom, or because of my culture, 100% boom. It's not really productive. Like, we could have people that are like we could have like one Latino guy and one Asian guy that are more similar than not, but they're on the race element, they're on the same category or group, right? But on every other element, they're literally the same. Like, every other attribute and characteristic, they're the same. So it's not productive, but anyways.
I do think it's a choice. I'm not going to say it's not a choice, but I'm saying, do you feel like some people don't have the same choices as other people's in different communities?
I think some people don't have the mental capacity to allocate the energy to learn the rules of the game, quote unquote, because their instincts are kicking in to just survive.
I think trauma plays a heavier role than we like to account for. Trauma is the reason why I'm here. I come from a family.
Yeah, and if you're gonna make the claim of trauma, you have to make it relatively specific. You have to make it defined, and then you have to attribute what is the weight. What is the weight of the variable? You can't just say trauma 100%. That's super dishonest.
heavily
discount everything else.
cult Islamic family, and the things that I was doing in my life they didn't agree with. They pretty much sent people to my house to kill me. I was set up multiple times. They hacked my social media pages, both my iPhones, you know what I mean? So I don't want to just kind of ignore trauma as if it doesn't really matter in terms of what you are capable of doing, because people that are traumatized and people that do deal with a lot of oppression tend to get some of their choices removed.
I can acknowledge that, yes.
My name is Hanifa. I'm an author, and I'm currently homeless, so I don't make any money right now. I grew up Muslim my entire life, and in Islam, it is permissible to marry your cousin. So my family enforced sexual acts in between cousins. It led to me having to flee my hometown and come all the way to California, which is 2,600 miles away, just so that I can avoid being killed.
I've worried where my next meal will come from.
Me and my partner right now are applying for EBT because we are just like living check to check right now, and I'm supporting both of us because she just lost her job. We are like literally trying to get help from the government so that we can know that we have the funds to get groceries. It's so hard, and it feels like it's not as accessible as people make it seem.
To have everything stripped away from you and to not know where you're gonna sleep. It's just very difficult. You know, it almost feels like a past life of having like everything. You know, I had bags. I had to take my little Michael Kors bags to the pawn shop, take every item of clothing that I had to Plato's Closet so that I could buy a one-way ticket for myself and my child. I didn't know what we were gonna eat. I didn't know where we were gonna sleep. And not to be a victim, but it's not my fault why I'm here, you know? It's because I speak out against cult behavior. I speak out against pedophilia. And publishing my story has the domino effect of that has led me to not knowing where I'm gonna eat. And I've never had that happen to me before prior to 4 months ago. And that's just really tough.
Thank you for sharing.
Yeah, super empathetic and tough, but it's like I don't understand. She's spending time writing books. Is she generating income or thinking of generating income if she's poor to pay the bills, or is she just doing activism?
Your story, that's really powerful. And yeah, like if you need help, like after this, let's just talk. That pulls on my heartstrings because my mother raised us 3 kids by herself, and my father was a wife beater. He was also a child molester, so anyone listening can connect the dots on that. I feel for you.
I almost want to jump out because it was only a short period of time, you know, and just that short period of time when you're busted or whatever, and you're just like whatever, but you guys were like in the real thick of it. You guys are in the trenches. I visited the trenches for like a couple
You had a
months.
toe.
I had a toe in the trenches, you know?
So I'm getting paid paycheck to paycheck, and on top of that, I have a crippling gambling addiction. I'm addicted to weed. I'm addicted to alcohol. I'm addicted to vaping. And as soon as I have that direct deposit, it's like I have no control. Almost like I black out and I start gambling, start ordering drinks, start ordering weed, and then I come out of that no control feeling, and I'm like thinking, how am I gonna feed my pets this week, my cat, my dog? Like I had all these plans up to my payday. Before I know it, all my money's gone, and it's addiction.
The question also for that also becomes like, how did you start? I feel like a lot of people, it's like an escapism. So they're escaping their reality, and then over time it becomes a lifestyle and then like an addiction and everything. Yeah, it's pretty tough.
When you're in a position when you don't have a lot of money, you can't do a lot of things for fun, and you're often just like working. I have to survive, I have to feed myself. And so when you get that paycheck and you have just a little bit of enough money to do something that will spark joy for you, it's so hard to be like, no, I'll put it aside to save. It's like, I'll just do this one thing for myself, I'll just treat myself. And then it's like, well, now it's gone.
I completely understand what you're saying, and I used to think like that too, but I also thought about how joyful it would be to be rich. I would rather not have that instant gratification, because the gratification of being infinitely
you need to
stable
get
or
your
more
money right.
stable
Get out of it.
is more important. My name is Brittany. I am a holistic health practitioner, and I make around $130,000 a year. My relationship with my brother has literally crumbled since I have acquired more money. He only calls me when he needs something. The only person that I really have a relationship with is my mom. I haven't spoken to my brother. I want them to be happy and, and successful more than anything. But it almost feels dehumanizing to be looked at as just the help and not a sister or a cousin or something like that, yeah.
My name is Mia, and I'm currently working as a customer service representative for a moving and storage company. I make $45K a year. My family has always been like, oh, you gotta look presentable, you gotta look nice whenever we're going out to eat or to the mall. But as an adult, a lot of my money isn't going towards buying new clothes or jewelry, makeup, whatever it might be. So you'll catch me in like sweats and a t-shirt, and I just don't feel presentable enough to be at the mall, to be at a restaurant, because of that embarrassing feeling and shame of not investing more in how I present myself.
The disagreeer.
You're just hanging out back there.
I feel like I misunderstood the prompt.
So have you ever worried about where your next meal was gonna come from?
Just
ever?
once.
Oh,
No, I definitely have. Like when I was in college, I was trying to buy groceries, and the lady behind me ended up paying groceries for me, and it's so embarrassing because my card got maxed out and I had no money in the bank account, basically.
$15 an hour is not enough for minimum wage.
I did have a question for you two. You both mentioned that you suffer from addiction and that as soon as you get a paycheck, it's gone, whether it's gambling or weed or shopping or whatever. If you had a higher income, would that change?
Personally, yes, because the whole reason I gamble is like, let me get that $60,000 win and I'll stop gambling. That's my mindset, right? And another thing is I feel like if I were to have like passive income, I guess you can say, or be financially stable, I can pursue and distract myself with my actual passions. Like I want to start a true crime YouTube channel, but I don't have the laptop, I don't have the camera. The addiction takes control, so I don't think about the things I don't have, and I just feel numb and thoughtless, and I'm just enjoying my TV. And so yeah, I feel like it would change. I would be able to have other distractions that are beneficial to me in a positive way.
If you had more money, you could probably have access to help, like medical help.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
Psychiatrists, because that's really expensive, and you can't afford it living off of minimum wage,
I feel like a lot of jobs will pay minimum wage, but they will expect maximum effort. And I'm like, if you're gonna pay me minimum wage, I'm putting in the bare minimum effort.
I've always looked at it the opposite way. Like if I go into a company and they're paying me minimum wage, I do everything that I can to get promoted. Hi, my name is Todd. I am 29 years old. I am a real estate investor and a YouTuber.
Bro, there's so much anecdotal stuff here. Like, they don't even get on the topic.
And I make about $1.4 million per year.
Macro level.
When you grow up the way I did with no money and your mom is struggling and crying herself to sleep every night because you can't pay the bills, that takes a toll on you as a kid and seeing that struggle. I got my first job when I was 12 years old, literally shoveling horse poop for $3 an hour. And I looked at myself when I was 12 years old and I was like, you've got to make $1 million a year by the time you're 30.
My name is Sean, I'm 23 years old. I'm a musician and content creator, and I make minimum wage at a retail job. If I wasn't having to work every day to pay my rent, then I would have more time to make music and connect with people and find venues to perform my music. And if I had the money, I would be able to market and promote my music so that it could reach a wider audience.
For me,
You can also promote your songs without the use of money, but I don't know if he's looked into the actual social media marketing side very strategically and tactically, not just esoteric in the clouds. I'm good enough, my music's gonna just go viral on its own. No, you actually have to be good.
my mindset is working minimum wage is always temporary. It's always been like, okay, we work minimum wage, but we're gonna work harder to get promoted, and then we're gonna do something else with our lives.
Many, many, many years ago.
Bro, they never talk about the actual topic. Like, Should minimum wage be 15, 20, 10? They just bring in their anecdotal stories.
You could go live off the land. You didn't have to work for somebody in order to survive. All the land is taken. It's in federal land. You can't go fishing in these federal streams. You can't do that. So that's not possible at scale. In order to survive, you must work for someone else. That forces wages down, right? People can't just go, F you, I'm not gonna work, I'm gonna chill and work on my novel or do whatever. So that's the part where I agree with you on like, I'm a supporter of UBI so that people aren't forced to work. Now where I disagree
is he in support of other social programs?
Is that we don't pay people based on what they need. And
He's basically like a centrist.
your kind of point is this, I give the minimum effort if you pay me minimum wage. But there's certain jobs that are not worth $15 an hour, just frankly not worth it. Maybe they're worth 5, maybe they're worth 2. I want you to watch TV for an hour in your house and tell me how many commercials come up, because I'm doing a survey. I want to pay you $7 an hour. You think I should have to pay you $15 an hour for that? Or would you take $7 an hour to sit on your couch and count commercials that show up on the television?
I mean, yeah, I would take any money.
Okay, so everybody here agreed that it should be $15 an hour minimum wage.
Yeah.
But by making the wage 15.
First off, how do they even determine the number? I have zero clue. Arbitrary number. And even guys like Kruger, okay? Now he's like leftist. But even back in the days, he even said that minimum wage is strictly a political tool to acquire power. It has literally no economic theory that backs it up that makes any sense. It's a price control on wages. In other words, it's anti-supply and demand on wages. If you instill a $15 minimum wage, the guy that is actually worth economically, value-wise, $10 an hour, you basically tell him, screw you, go back to where you came from. There's no way I'm going to hire you. So what does that guy do that's worth less than $15 an hour? Or that kid that's worth like $6 an hour? You literally send them back to where they came from and keep them poor forever. The minimum wage is anti-econ and minimum wage is anti the poor.
$15 an hour, you just eliminated a job that he's willing to do.
More money, more.
And for eliminating the jobs, 100%, keep raising the minimum wage. They're going to find alternatives. They're going to bring in the robots and the guys who automate a bunch of stuff.
Problems.
More money, more problems, but that's a path that I'm willing to take on because the problems that come along with not having money, I can't imagine going back there.
Good.
I made it a point to position myself adjacent to people who I felt like I could learn from. I remember parking my little Chevy Cruze up off of Griffith Observatory in Hollywood Hills just to be around money.
You guys mind if I start?
Yeah, please.
Grant Cardone was saying it's like it's you choose what your life's gonna be. Either you go rich and it's difficult. I mean, it's not a dichotomy, but this is the way he positions it. Either you go rich and it's difficult, or you stay poor and it's also difficult. So choose which one you want.
A lot of the problems in my life would be solved with just, not even if I was rich, but just like a little bit more money. I would just have so much less stress and less things to worry about, and I wouldn't be finding myself in these situations where I'm worried about how am I going to pay rent, how am I going to get gas to drive, how am I
hope his actions, every move he takes, is in line with the ambition that he wants. So if he wants to be paid or earn $50,000 a year in economic value, I hope he's putting out that much.
going to eat.
More money, like more social responsibility, right? Going back to.
What does that mean?
Like, if you're a billionaire, then you have social responsibility to take care of people who might have less than you.
Really? I'm not seeing that. In modern
You
day
have
life.
billionaire beef. You got a billionaire
modern day
beef.
life, what are billionaires doing?
I want to add real quick to what you were saying that
Social responsibility, what exactly is she referring to? And social responsibility doesn't need to be manifested in government action and socialism. It could literally be if you believe that it makes you feel good and you're helping other people, you're deciding who to help conditionally on who the person is, then go for it. But it's not your duty to help people, not blindly suffering to help somebody. You help somebody that you want to help, and you give them the amount that you want.
I had my first felony when I was 14 years old. I had gotten a DUI in 2018, so I was still going in and out of courthouses. I'm struggling trying to get a job, applying, getting interviews, getting a job offer, background check, offer rescinded, and that hurts a lot. But I'm over here watching The Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, and Yolanda Hadid's daughter just so happens to also get a DUI, but she's taking off in her modeling career like it was just a hiccup. I'm also seeing cases of affluenza, where this kid driving his dad's truck drunk killed someone, and he gets off for affluenza, which means you're too rich to know what's good or bad, so you don't get any repercussions.
I never.
Yeah,
So
it was
to
in
me,
Hollywood too.
I agree with my punishments. I messed up, and I will accept
But
it.
you want it to be fair treatment.
Exactly,
Yeah,
because
you've
when
done
I
your
see
time.
that, it's just slap in the face. Like, what is the justice system? That's not justice.
Listen, I like the song More Money, More Problems.
I like it too.
It's jamming.
I love
but
the song.
it's really more money, different problems.
Yes.
And that's a cut.
We did it.
That's a wrap.
Right, not bad.
Oh.
I thought it was. I think maybe next time they should go into more difficult questions, more complex questions. But because with a lot of these videos, I'm just like, there's so much anecdotal injection that happens, and I'm just like, why don't you actually discuss in the point of the video, middle ground, and the actual debate intellectually on the subject, not just, oh, I felt this way and this happened to me. That's not intellectual. So, but I think it was pretty fun anyways. I'm going to do a lot more of these Jubilee reaction videos. I think they're pretty sick. But if you guys have any questions or you want to say something in the comment section, drop it down and let me know what you guys think. I'll see you guys in the next show. Peace!